Evan Hale woke up with a sharp pain running through his back, as if he had been thrown against stone. His breath came out in short, confused gasps. When he opened his eyes, the world around him did not look like any place on Earth. It was glowing, alive, and watching him. Tall trees with silver bark stood over him like silent giants. Their leaves glowed a soft blue, pulsing as if they were breathing. Strange flowers opened and closed even without wind. The air smelled sweet, too sweet, and the ground under him felt warm, almost like skin. Evan slowly sat up, trying to understand where he was. The last thing he remembered was his ship shaking violently, alarms screaming, and a sudden bright flash as the engines blew out. He had been on a solo exploration mission near an uncharted moon. Now, it looked like that moon was not just unexplored. It was dangerous. He forced himself to stand. His legs trembled, but not from pain. Something was wrong with this place. There was no sound, no birds, no insects. Nothing, just a deep humming, like a faraway choir whispering under the earth. Evan took a step forward, and the humming grew louder. Matching his heartbeat ahead of him, he noticed a pool of golden liquid, glowing like melted sunlight. It shimmered gently, giving off a warm haze. It looked peaceful, but also unnatural. Something inside Evan told him not to go near it. But right beside the pool, carved into the bark of a tree, were three strange words. "Drink our nectar." Evan froze. The words were carved in English. He stepped back in shock. Whoever had carved that message either knew English or copied it from someone else. He scanned the forest quickly, every muscle tense. His heart thumped harder as the humming sound suddenly changed rhythm. It sounded like whispers. Whispers calling his name. Evan, Evan. He spun around. No one, but the trees moved slightly. Not because of wind, but like something was brushing past them. Something invisible. His skin crawled. Every instinct told him he was not alone. He took slow steps backward, trying to stay quiet. The forest lights dimmed for a moment, as if the valley itself blinked. Evan swallowed hard. His ship was nowhere to be seen. His communicator was broken. And whatever lived here, he was already inside their territory. A soft sound reached his ears. It was almost like a footstep, light and slow. Then another. Then another. The hair on his neck rose as realization struck. He was being watched. He turned again, this time seeing a shape behind the glowing trees. A tall silhouette. Then another. And another. Smooth movement, almost floating. They were closing in quietly. His breath hitched. His heartbeat raced. He could feel eyes on him, many eyes. A voice echoed inside his mind. "Do not run." Evan stumbled back. The voice wasn't heard with ears, was inside his thoughts. Clear, calm, and strangely soft. He tried to speak, but his mouth felt dry. Another shape stepped into view, and he finally saw one of them clearly. A tall feminine figure glowing faintly with soft violet light. Her skin looked like polished crystal, smooth and flawless. Her hair floated like strands of living light. Her eyes were large and luminous, shifting between purple and gold. She looked beautiful, too beautiful, like an otherworldly goddess crafted from starlight. She stared at him with curiosity, not anger. More figures appeared behind her, dozens of them. All women, all glowing, all silent. Evan's body stiffened. He had never seen anything like this. The first one stepped closer. Her feet barely touched the ground, her movement graceful and weightless. When she spoke again, her lips didn't move. Her voice came directly into his mind. "Earthling, you entered the Forbidden Valley." He couldn't respond. His brain struggled to understand how these beings were speaking to him telepathically. She looked at him with soft interest, as if studying a rare animal. "You survived the crash, she said, her voice gentle but firm. The valley itself protected you. It does not do that for everyone. Evan finally found his voice. Who are you? Her eyes glowed brighter. We are the Seraphine. The word echoed inside him, vibrating through his bones. The women behind her moved silently, their gazes fixed on him. There was no malice, but there was power. Ancient power. The Seraphine leader pointed softly toward the golden pool. The nectar called you here. Evan shook his head. I'm not drinking anything. Her expression didn't change, but the air around her pulsed. Without the nectar, this valley will consume you. Evan stepped back, fear tightening his chest. What do you mean, consume me? She raised a hand. A vine on the ground suddenly moved on its own, slithering like a living snake. Evan jumped away. The vine curled and hissed before retreating into the earth. The Seraphine leader's voice filled. Smiled again. The valley feeds on intruders. Only our presence protects you. Evan realized the terrifying truth. He wasn't trapped by accident. He was trapped because the valley wanted him. The leader stepped close enough for him to see. Tiny stars shimmering inside her eyes. Earthling. Your life now depends on us. Evan's breath caught, and behind her. Every Seraphine woman stared at him with the same quiet intensity, beautiful, powerful, and unreadable, like a tribe that had been waiting for something. Or someone. Evan stood frozen as the glowing women circled him slowly. Their light brushing against the leaves and making the entire forest shimmer. The Seraphine leader watched him with a calm, unreadable face, as if she already knew what he would do next. Her presence was gentle. But there was something powerful beneath her calm voice, something ancient. One of the Seraphine stepped closer. Her eyes glowed like two bright moons, and she studied Evan the same way a scientist might observe a strange new creature. Her hair flowed behind her without wind, shifting colors from violet to silver. She leaned slightly toward him, curious and cautious. Evan stepped back instinctively. She mirrored his step with graceful smoothness. The leader spoke again inside his mind. Do not fear us, Earthling. We do not harm unless harmed first. Evan swallowed hard. Then what do you want from me? The leader lifted her hand, and the other Seraphine stopped moving. Her fingers glowed with soft white light as she pointed toward the golden pool behind him. The nectar called you. We only answered. Evan glanced at the pool again. Its surface rippled, even though nothing touched it, almost like it reacted to his breathing. Why would it call me? I'm just a pilot. I didn't come here for this. A gentle smile formed on the leader's lips, one that felt too calm for a place so dangerous. The valley chooses freely. We never understand its reasons fully. Another Seraphine, slightly shorter but with sharper features, stepped beside the leader. Her voice was sharper too, echoing in Evan's mind like ringing bells. He is human, frail, unfit. We should send him back to the forest. Evan stiffened. Send him back. That meant death. The leader raised her hand, silencing the harsh-toned Seraphine. No, he survived the crash. The valley protected him. There must be meaning. Evan felt the eyes of all the Seraphine turn toward him at once. The intensity of their attention made his heart race. They didn't blink. They didn't breathe heavily. They watched him like they were reading his thoughts, his emotions, his memories. The leader finally spoke again, her voice softer than before. Come with us, Evan Hale. He took a step back. Where are you taking me? A soft shimmer passed between the trees as the Seraphine began moving aside, opening a path deeper into the glowing forest. The trees bent away as if bowing to them. The humming sound grew louder, forming a strange melodic rhythm. To our sanctuary, the leader said. It is the only safe place in the valley. Evan didn't want to follow strangers, especially glowing aliens who talked inside his head, but staying here alone was worse. He had seen the vines move. He had felt the forest watching him. He knew he didn't have a choice. He followed them. As they walked, he noticed something unusual. The forest behaved differently around the Seraphine. The glowing plants turned toward them like flowers toward sunlight. The ground felt softer, safer. Even the air warmed slightly, as if responding to their presence. Evan tried to understand them. They all looked similar, tall, graceful, glowing, but each one had different hair colors, different patterns of light on their skin, different styles of movement. Some walked proud and distant. Others looked playful, curious. One Seraphine walked beside him, her eyes fixed on him without blinking. "What?" Evan asked nervously. She tilted her head as if trying to decode his voice. "Your emotions are loud." "My emotions. Humans feel too strongly. Your fear shakes the air." Evan rubbed his face. "Well, excuse me for being afraid. I just woke up in a glowing jungle surrounded by women who can read my mind." A few Seraphine looked at each other, as if amused. Their faint smiles made them look even more unreal. Finally, the trees opened into a giant clearing. Evan gasped. In front of him stood an enormous crystal structure, shaped like a blooming flower. It rose high above the forest, glowing with golden and violet light. Waterfalls of liquid light streamed down its petals, flowing into pools around it. The leader stepped forward. "This is our sanctuary. This looks like a living temple." "It is," she answered quietly. "It grows with us. It protects us, and it tests those who enter." The phrase made Evan uneasy. Tests. Before the leader could respond, the crystal structure pulsed. A warm beam of light extended toward Evan, scanning his entire body. The Seraphine watched carefully. The crystal glowed brighter. The leader's expression changed just slightly, but it was enough to show surprise. "The sanctuary accepts him." Murmurs echoed through the tribe. Some Seraphine seemed pleased. Others looked troubled. The strict one stepped forward sharply. "Impossible. A human cannot be chosen." But the leader shook her head. "It is chosen. We cannot deny it." Evan felt a cold chill in his spine. Chosen. For what? The leader turned to him with a calm but serious gaze. "Earthling, your fate is now tied to ours." Evan felt the humming grow louder around him, following his heartbeat and deep inside the glowing sanctuary. Something ancient awakened. Evan followed the Seraphine leader into the shining sanctuary, unsure if he was walking toward safety or deeper danger. The crystal floor under his boots felt warm, pulsing like a heartbeat. Light moved through it in soft waves, responding each time he took a step. It was strange, almost like the structure recognized him. The Seraphine women surrounded him silently. Evan could feel their eyes tracing his every movement, reading the smallest change in his breath. Their presence was calm but powerful, like standing inside a storm that had chosen not to strike. Yet the leader stopped in front of a wide chamber with floating lights drifting slowly around the ceiling. "Evan Hall," she spoke gently into his mind, "before the nectar accepts you, we must understand your heart." "My heart." Evan frowned. "Why does that matter?" She stepped closer, her glow brushing faint warmth over his skin. "Because our nectar does not bond with lies, or fear, or corruption. Only truth can survive its power." Behind her, the other Seraphines spread out in a circle around him. Their bodies glowed brighter, forming a ring of pale violet light. Evan felt pressure in the air, soft but heavy, like something was pushing into his thoughts. One of them stepped forward. Her eyes a deeper gold than the rest. "He will be tested," she said. Her voice inside his mind felt stronger, sharper, almost invasive. "We must see his intention." Evan clenched his fists. I didn't come here to be tested. I just want to go home. The gold-eyed Seraphine tilted her head. Your ship is gone. The valley has swallowed its remains. The words struck him like a punch. Gone completely. Another Seraphine leaned close, her voice soft, nearly whispering into his thoughts. You cannot escape the valley without us. Trust is not a choice. It is your only path. Evan felt panic rising inside him. He forced himself to control it. This was not Earth. He needed to think smart. The leader raised her hand, silencing the others. Let him breathe, she said. The pressure in the air faded. Evan took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. The leader then extended her hand toward the center of the chamber. A platform of light formed, rising slowly from the floor. On top of it lay a small sphere made of pure golden liquid. It floated and spun gently, surrounded by rings of crystal energy. This is the first sip, the leader explained, not the full nectar. Only its echo. Safe. If your heart is balanced, Evan stepped toward it cautiously. What happens if it's not balanced? The stricter Seraphine answered coldly. It will reject you, painfully. Evan shivered before he could speak. Another Seraphine approached him from the side, this one with silver eyes that glimmered like starlight. She leaned close, studying his face with deep curiosity. Human hearts are strange, she whispered. They break easily, but they heal even faster. Evan's breath hitched at how close she came. She reached out and touched the air right beside his cheek, never touching him directly, but close enough that her warmth grazed his skin. Why do you fear us so much? She asked. I don't know what you want, Evan answered honestly. The leader stepped beside them. Understanding. Evan frowned. Understanding what? She looked into his eyes with deep calm. What you are. What you can become. And why the valley called you. Evan took a breath. If he refused the test, he would never get answers. And he would never survive this place alone. Slowly, he stepped closer to the glowing sphere. The Seraphine tightened their circle around him, silently watching. The air warmed with a strange, sweet scent like flowers blooming in another dimension. The leader nodded. Touch it. Evan reached out. The golden sphere reacted instantly, spinning faster. As his fingers brushed the surface, warm energy shot through his arm. He gasped as his memories flashed around him like floating lights. His childhood. His first space mission. His failures. His fears. His loneliness. The nectar wasn't just scanning him. It was reading him. The Seraphine closed their eyes, linking to the test. Evan felt their presence inside his mind. Not controlling him, but observing him from every angle. Moments stretched. Like long minutes, the golden light softened. The sphere calmed. Then, it brightened warmly, glowing with acceptance. The leader opened her eyes. Her expression softened. He is truthful, she said. The strict Seraphine looked surprised but said nothing. The circle around Evan dimmed as the energy faded. The leader stepped close. Close, he could see tiny glowing patterns under her skin. The first sip accepts you. That means the valley sees something in you. Evan exhaled shakily. So what now? The leader looked toward the deeper halls of the sanctuary. Her voice entered his mind with a calm, powerful weight. Now, Evan hail. The real testing begins. And somewhere deeper inside the glowing temple, a low, ancient hum awakened, responding to his presence, as if waiting for him. Asterisk. Evan had barely caught his breath from the mental test when the sanctuary suddenly darkened. The glowing walls dimmed, the warm light flickered, and the soft humming he had grown used to changed into a sharp, warning vibration that made the hairs on his arms rise. The Seraphine stopped moving at the same time, every one of them. Their glowing bodies stiffened, eyes turning from soft violet to a bright, defensive white. Evan sensed fear in the air for the first time. They were no longer studying him. They were listening to something else. The leader closed her eyes. "They found us." Evan stepped closer. "Who found us?" Before she could answer, a distant roar tore through the valley, deep, metallic, and powerful enough to make the crystal around them tremble. The light inside the sanctuary cracked like glass, responding to a sudden strike. Several Seraphine moved instantly toward the entrance, their hands raised. Light formed between their palms, swirling into sharp, glowing shapes like weapons made of pure energy. Evan had never seen them look so dangerous. This peaceful tribe had a warrior side. The leader opened her eyes again. Her voice entered Evan's mind with calm urgency. "The Gorthan Hunters." The name itself felt heavy. Who are they?" Evan asked. The strict Seraphine answered with a cold, cutting tone. "Invaders, poachers, parasites. They consume life, drain light, and destroy any place that shines." Another roar sounded, this one closer. The sanctuary walls shook again. Evan grabbed onto one of the crystal pillars to steady himself. The leader stepped forward, and light surged from her body, brighter than before. Defensive formation. The Seraphine spread out with perfect coordination. The soft, glowing women Evan had seen minutes ago transformed into fierce protectors, their bodies radiating powerful energy. Their movements were fast and fluid, almost like living light. Evan felt small beside them, weak, human. The leader looked back at him. "Stay behind me. Evan Hale. Whatever happens, do not leave the sanctuary." The entrance exploded with a violent burst of purple fire. A large, shadowy figure crashed through it. Its body was armored in dark plates that looked grown, not built. Its mouth dripped with thick black fluid, and its eyes glowed red like burning coals. Evan stumbled back. "What is that thing?" The leader replied without turning. "A Gorthan hunter. They came for the nectar tree." Two more hunters forced their way in, smashing crystal pillars and sending pieces flying. The Seraphine attacked instantly, sending beams of light toward the intruders. The beams cut through the air like shooting stars, striking the hunter's armor and leaving burning marks. One hunter roared and swung its massive arm, slamming a Seraphine into the wall. She crumpled but quickly stood again, determined. These beings were strong, but clearly not invincible. Evan watched the battle unfold, heart pounding. The Seraphine moved like glowing dancers, each strike timed perfectly. Light exploded every time they hit the hunters. But the hunters were relentless, pushing deeper inside the sanctuary. One of them spotted Evan. Its red eyes locked onto him. It roared and charged. Evan froze as the huge creature sprinted toward him like a living tank. Before it could reach him, a sudden blast of golden light erupted from the nectar chamber. The energy shot across the room like a wave and shoved the hunter back so hard it skidded across the floor. The leader turned sharply toward the chamber. Her eyes widened. "The tree is reacting to him." Evan stared, shocked. "Reacting to me?" Another hunter jumped, swinging toward the leader. She countered with a burst of white light that split into a shield around her body. The impact shook the entire hall. The younger, Seraphine, the one with silver eyes, ran past Evan and pulled him toward the side. "You must stay alive. The tree feels your presence. That has never happened before." "I don't understand," Evan began, but the ground shifted violently beneath them. A deep rumble echoed through the sanctuary as the floor cracked. Something huge moved beneath the crystal surface, like a giant heartbeat pulsing out of rhythm. The leader shouted, "The nectar tree is unstable." The attack is disturbing its roots. One hunter leaped toward a small Seraphine child standing frozen near a pillar. Evan didn't think he ran. He grabbed the child and rolled with her just as the creature's claws smashed into the floor where she had stood. Pain shot up Evan's arm as he hit the ground, but he didn't let go. The creature roared in frustration. The child stared at him with wide, glowing eyes, shocked. "You saved me," she whispered inside his mind. The leader turned toward Evan, her expression changing completely. Something like respect or recognition flashed in her eyes. "The tree accepts him," she said. The strict Seraphine stared at Evan with disbelief. A human, chosen by the tree. Another violent shake rattled the sanctuary. Light rippled across the floor. The leader's voice echoed with new weight. "Evan Hale, your fate is tied deeper than we believed." And the nectar tree pulsed again brighter, louder as if calling for him. The battle inside the sanctuary slowly fell silent. The last Gorthan hunter collapsed with a heavy thud, its armored body dimming like a dying ember. The air smelled of burnt metal and glowing crystal dust. Evan stood breathing hard, his clothes torn, his arms shaking from adrenaline and fear around him. The Seraphine gathered in a circle, whispering through their glowing thoughts. Their light had changed again, a calmer, warmer glow now spread across the sanctuary. The leader stepped forward, her radiance soft but commanding. "The tree accepts him," she repeated, as if confirming it for the entire tribe. The younger Seraphine he saved clung gently to Evan's arm, her small, glowing hands trembling. She whispered in his mind with shy gratitude, "No one ever protects us like that." "Thank you." Evan swallowed, unsure what to say. He was still trying to understand this world, this tribe, and why everything seemed to revolve around him since his arrival. The leader raised her hand, and the Seraphine parted, forming a glowing path toward a deeper chamber of the sanctuary. A warm golden pulse echoed from its steady, rhythmic, like the beat of a giant heart. Evan looked toward the leader. "What's happening now?" She approached him slowly, her voice calm and solemn. "You saved one of us. The tree saw your choice. Now you must face the temptation ritual." Evan frowned. "What does that mean?" One of the Seraphine with silver eyes stepped beside the leader. "It means the nectar will show you its truth and decide if you are worthy to receive it." The phrase made Evan tense. "What if I'm not worthy?" The strict Seraphine answered sharply, not bothering to soften her tone. "Then you will fall. The tree does not tolerate weakness." The younger ones glared at her, but she didn't back down. The leader gently placed her hand on Evan's shoulder. Her touch did not feel human, warm, light, weightless, but somehow comforting. "Do not fear. The tree has already accepted you once." She paused. "But this is different. This will test your soul." The Seraphine led him into the deeper chamber. Evan's eyes widened. At the center of the room grew the nectar. Tria, massive glowing structure made of liquid gold and crystal roots. Its branches stretched high into the ceiling, each one dripping golden droplets that floated in the air like tiny suns. The entire hall pulsed with warm light that made the air vibrate faintly. As Evan stepped closer, the tree brightened, reacting to him again. The Seraphine surrounded the tree in a perfect circle. Their eyes glowed as they began to chant, not with voices, but through telepathic harmonies that filled Evan's mind like soft music. The leader approached him, holding a bowl made of pure crystal. Inside, it swirled a small amount of golden liquid. The nectar, it looked alive. She extended the bowl toward him, her eyes locked on his. "This is not the full bond. This is the temptation. The nectar will reach into your soul and see everything." Evan's heart pounded. "What if I can't handle it?" The leader answered softly, "You already did. When you risked your life for the child, the Seraphine around them glowed brighter, their bodies drifting slightly off the floor as they floated in synchronized motion. Their energy filled the chamber with a mystical, unreal warmth. One of them whispered into his mind, "Many crave the nectar, but only few survive its truth." Evan felt the weight of the moment. The Gorthon hunters had attacked the valley for this very liquid. Entire species were willing to kill for it. And now he was being asked to drink it. He took the bowl. The golden liquid shimmered, as if aware of his touch. Tiny sparks moved across its surface, reflecting his face back at him, but distorted. Older, younger, different. He raised it slowly. Before he could drink, the leader placed her hand gently over the bowl. "Listen, Evan Hale." Her eyes softened. "The nectar will tempt you. It will show you your desires, your fears, your hidden darkness. Not to destroy you, but to reveal who you truly are." He nodded, breath trembling. The Seraphine lifted their hands. Golden streams of light connected them to the tree and to him. The entire room vibrated softly, like a giant heart waking up. Evan closed his eyes and drank the nectar, touched his tongue like warm honey. But it wasn't sweetness he felt, it was energy. A rush shot through his body, filling his mind with light. He gasped as the chamber disappeared. He found himself standing in a memory, his own but twisted, like a dream. His younger self was there. His failures, his loneliness, his guilt, his desire to belong somewhere. The nectar wasn't showing him illusions. It was showing him himself. The Seraphine voices echoed around him. "Face your truth. Do not run." He felt fear clawing inside his chest. Parts of himself he never wanted to face pushed forward his insecurities. His hidden longing for connection, his anger, his hope, his grief. He wanted to run. He wanted to scream, but he stood his ground. Slowly, the illusions faded. The chamber returned. The Seraphine watched silently. Evan's hands were shaking. But he was still standing. The leader stepped close, her voice a soft breath in his mind. "You resisted the temptation. You did not break." Her eyes glowed warmly. "Evan Hale, the nectar has accepted you again." And deep inside the tree, a pulse of golden light spread through the sanctuary, as if something ancient had awakened and chosen him. Evan stood in the glowing chamber, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. The last waves of the temptation ritual still pulsed faintly inside him, like ripples moving through deep water. The nectar had shown him everything, his fears, his regrets, his pain, and yet he was still standing. The leader stepped closer, her glow soft and warm. "You faced yourself and did not fall," she said gently. "Few ever succeed." Before Evan could respond, a violent tremor shook the sanctuary. Crystal roots cracked, sending sharp vibrations through the floor. The glowing walls flickered, and the Seraphine looked up with alarm. The silver-eyed Seraphine rushed forward. "The Gorthons have returned, and they brought something else." Evan's heart tightened. "Something else? What does that mean?" The strict Seraphine answered with a grim tone, her light dimming with fear. "A devourer." Evan blinked. "A what?" The leader's expression turned serious, more serious than he had ever seen. "A creature that feeds on pure energy. It destroys forests, stars, and living places like our valley. The hunters breed them for war." Another tremor hit, stronger than before. Dust fell from the ceiling. The ground pulsed as if something enormous was moving beneath it. Evan swallowed hard. "And it's coming here." The leader nodded slowly. "To the nectar tree, the tree's life force is irresistible to a devourer." Evan's stomach twisted. "Then we should evacuate. Leave the valley." The Seraphine shared silent glances, fear mixed with sadness. The silver-eyed one whispered softly, "We cannot leave. We are bound to the tree without its energy. We die." The reality hit Evan like a punch. The Seraphine weren't protecting the tree out of pride or tradition. They were connected to it, truly connected. The tree was their life source. The leader stepped closer to Evan, her glow brighter, almost trembling. "That is why we needed someone different. Someone the tree could accept and protect." Evan frowned. "Someone like me?" She nodded. "Humans are strange to the valley. Your body is not drained by its energy. The tree sees strength in you, a strength we do not have." Evan rubbed his forehead. "So you chose me because your tree wants me?" The leader's expression softened. "Not wants, needs." A deep roar echoed from outside the chamber, so loud it rattled Evan's ribs. The ground shook as if something huge slammed into the sanctuary walls. The strict Seraphine shouted, "It has reached the outer roots." Panic flashed across the faces of the younger Seraphine. The leader raised her hand, calming them with a gentle glow. Then she turned back to Evan. "Evan, hail. The full nectar can stop the devourer, but only if someone strong enough uses it." His heart started pounding faster. "Let me guess." His voice shook. "That someone is me." The leader didn't deny it. She placed her hand gently on his chest, right over his heart. The touch was warm, pulsing with energy. "The temptation proved your soul can handle its weight, but the full nectar is far stronger. It will change you. It may tear you apart if you are not ready." Evan felt a deep fear. What happened to the previous chosen ones? Silence. Then the strict Seraphine spoke with a cold honesty that cut straight to the bone. "They died." The younger Seraphine lowered their heads softly. Their glowing hair dimmed with grief. Evan stared at them, unable to breathe for a moment. The leader's voice entered his mind again, soft but heavy with truth. "We never wanted to test you. But the devourer will kill us all if you do nothing. The valley will fall, the tree will collapse, and you will be trapped forever." Another roar thundered through the sanctuary, louder, closer. The walls cracked slightly, glowing roots shaking violently. The silver-eyed Seraphine grabbed Evan's hand desperately. "Please, you are the only one who can fight it." He looked into her glowing eyes and saw it trail fear, not for themselves, but for him too. Evan felt pressure in his chest. He had never been a hero. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't even supposed to be here. But these alien women, these beings who could have killed him, instead protected him, trusted him, chose him. He looked toward the nectar tree, its branches pulsing with golden light, waiting for him. Evan took a deep breath. "Okay." His voice was quiet but firm. "I'll do it." The leader exhaled, relief and sadness mixed in her eyes. "Then prepare yourself." Her voice grew solemn. "Once you take the full nectar, there is no turning back." The chamber darkened. The tree brightened. Energy gathered around Evan like warm air before a storm. The temptation had tested him. But this would transform him. Outside, the devourer roared again, shaking the valley. And the nectar tree pulsed wildly because its chosen warrior had finally agreed. The ground shook, harder than before, as the devourer slammed against the outer walls of the sanctuary. The sound was like metal grinding against stone, mixed with a deep, hungry howl that vibrated inside Evan's bones. Dust fell from the ceiling. Crystal roots cracked with painful snapping sounds. The Seraphine were scared, and if they were scared, Evan knew the creature must be something from nightmares. The leader guided Evan toward the glowing trunk of the nectar tree. Her voice echoed gently inside his mind. "The full nectar will change you. Do not resist it. let it flow. Evan nodded, even though fear clawed at his throat. The tree pulsed warmly as he approached, as if recognizing him again. Golden streams of light dripped from its branches, floating toward him like tiny suns. The strict Seraphine stepped forward. Her tone was harsh, but her eyes were filled with a strange fear. If you fall, the valley will fall with you. Remember that? The younger Seraphine, the same one Evan had saved, took his hand suddenly. Her small glowing fingers trembled. "Please come back," she whispered in his mind. Evan squeezed her hand softly. "I'll try." The leader raised the crystal bowl filled with the full nectar. It glowed so brightly it illuminated the entire chamber. "Evan Hale," she said with solemn power, "drink, and become the tree's shield." Evan took the bowl. Even holding it felt impossible. The nectar's energy pushed into his palms like a living force. Testing him, judging him. Outside, the devourer roared again, closer. Huge cracks spread through the sanctuary walls. The Seraphine gasped as roots snapped under the pressure. There was no more time. Evan closed his eyes and drank the nectar. Hit him like liquid fire. His entire body lit up, glowing gold from the inside. Energy exploded through his veins, making him shout in shock. He dropped to his knees as light shot from his eyes, his mouth. His skin, every cell burned like a tiny star. The Seraphine formed a protective circle around him, their voices joining together in a psychic chant, trying to help him survive the transformation. Inside Evan's mind, everything blurred. Memories swirled like storms. Faces he had forgotten flashed before him. Lost dreams. Old pain. Hope. The nectar pushed deeper, cracking him open from within. He felt like he would tear apart. "Do not resist," the leader whispered into his mind. "Let the power settle." He forced himself to breathe, to let the energy move. Slowly, painfully, the burning changed. The fire didn't consume him. It became strength. Light steadied inside his body. His senses sharpened. His heartbeat echoed through the entire chamber, matching the tree's pulse. Evan opened his eyes. They were no longer human. They glowed bright gold. The Seraphine stepped back in. Even the strict one stared silently. The leader placed her hand gently on his chest, now warm like sunlight. "You are ready." The sanctuary shook violently as the devourer finally broke through. A massive creature crawled into view, a towering monster made of black armored plates, with multiple glowing red eyes and a giant mouth that dripped with energy-draining darkness. Every step it took absorbed the light from the ground. The Seraphine retreated behind Evan. The leader whispered, "Go." Evan stepped forward as the devourer lunged toward him. Evan raised his hand instinctively. A massive beam of golden energy burst from his palm, blasting the monster backward and cracking its armored shell. The creature roared in pain. Shaking the valley, Evan stared at his glowing hand in shock. But he had no time to think. The devourer charged again. Evan met it halfway. They collided with a blinding explosion of gold and red. The impact shook the entire valley, sending shockwaves through the forest. Trees bent away. Light rippled across the sky. The creature slashed at Evan, but the nectar strengthened his body. He barely felt the hits. He grabbed its massive jaw and forced it open. Golden energy pouring from his hands into the monster's core. The devourer screamed, its body trembling as cracks appeared through its armor. It tried to drain Evan's life, but the nectar inside him burned too bright to steal. Evan pushed harder. A final pulse of golden energy erupted from his body, exploding outward like a supernova. The devourer shattered into pieces of fading black dust. Silence filled the valley. Evan collapsed to his knees, glowing but breathing. The Seraphine rushed to him. The younger one hugged him tightly, her small glowing arms shaking with relief. The leader knelt beside him. her eyes soft and full of something deeper than gratitude. "Earthling," she whispered, "you saved us all." Evan looked at the Seraphine, at the glowing sanctuary, at the living tree behind him, and he knew he wasn't the same man anymore. The leader touched his hand gently. "You are one of us now. Evan Hale, the valley will always recognize you." The tree has chosen its warrior, and as the golden light of the nectar tree spread through the rebuilt sanctuary, the Seraphine bowed their heads not to a stranger, but to their protector, their shield, their nectar warrior.